Parents of Reddit, when was your worst case of not checking a show before showing it to your kids? Happy Tree Friends. Was hoping for this comment. Thank you for traumatizing your children for our entertainment. I have a much younger sister and let her watch Rosemary's Baby with me when she was 5 and I was old enough that I should have known to read the plot summary beforehand. And that's the movie about how you were born. I worked at a movie theater once upon a time. I was working as an usher this particular night, so once the run of showings started, things got quiet for me until some dad came storming out of a theater with his wife and kids in tow, ranting about how he thought they were seeing a cowboy movie. Brokeback Mountain ain't for everyone. To be fair, the ads for that movie played down the gay themes. My parents used to rent one R-rated movie from Blockbuster along with the movie they rented for my brothers and I each week. Both of my grandmothers mixed up the movies on multiple occasions and didn't turn them off until my parents walked in and went, "What are you watching?" Free babysitters equals get what you pay for. Not a parent myself, but my folks always thought that any animation show would be suitable for kids, so I was basically watching The Simpsons and South Park in 3rd grade. Yeah, I've been watching The Simpsons from when I can remember. Would come home from school every day, play outside for a while, then come inside and watch The Simpsons every 5 p.m. Had friends who weren't allowed to watch it. My husband wanted to rent The Goonies with his mom's permission. He accidentally got The Ghoulies, a cheesy horror movie. Just watched Ghoulies 2 last weekend with my kids. Crap's awesome. My dad rented Team America with my 10-year-old brother. He did not know about the puppet fricking scene. All worth it for the America Frick Ya theme song. My parents wanted to watch Wedding Crashers with me when it first came out. I was in high school and we were all mortally embarrassed. Not a parent, but I witnessed a moment like this. My mom and I went to a special screening of Princess Mononoke, which is an animated movie that is pretty graphic at times. We noticed these parents were there with their very young son, and after talking to them we learned that they had never seen the movie. Long story short, they had to leave 10 minutes in because their kid was scared. When I was a kid, it was Watership Down. I still remember the horror. Cute bunnies on the cover, but an absolute bloodbath filled with disturbing imagery awaits. As a parent myself, YouTube. You really never know what you're getting on YouTube. There's plenty of great content for kids, but they're always just a few clicks away from a Holocaust documentary or true crime footage. Watership Down is a rite of passage for 7-year-olds, as was The Animals of Farthingwood for my age group in Europe. I played the Mighty Ducks to a group of 1st graders I was subbing for. There's quite a few bad words I had forgotten about. Yep, that's why my siblings and I were allowed to see D2 over and over again, but one saw the original Mighty Ducks once. I'm not a parent, but I was the kid. When Penn and Teller's Balls was new, we would watch the episodes together. I was a teen and they figured the only reason it was rated MA was the huge amount of cursing. Then came the freaking episode, where they showed an actual dongs. I was kicked out of the room, lol. God forbid a teenager see a, gasp, dong. Home Alone last Christmas. I put it on my 6-year-old who was going through a phase of not wanting to be alone in any part of our house. He would freak out if we were downstairs and he was upstairs, etc. Of course, one night before Christmas I happily put on a movie about a boy being left home alone. Parenting fail. I used to have that same fear. All I can say is, good luck. I didn't grow out of it until I was like 9, lol. Coraline is pretty effed up for a toddler. Neil Gaiman has a quote about how he finds the reaction to Coraline interesting because adults have such a visceral no reaction, but kids do see it as an adventure. That might be different for the movie since it has a lot of dark imagery, but I like the thought of a movie that's fun for kids but horrifying for adults. I'm not the parent, but I was the child. So one night my mom sets my family down to watch a movie and it's Gone Girl. Halfway through the movie I was sent to my room because there were so many freaking scenes. Me and my dad used to have movie nights when I was living with him in college. I had actually gotten him interested in dance after going to see a ballet together and showing him the athleticism and dedication involved. So he was really excited to show me this cool ballet movie he heard about. It was Black Swan. He sent me to my room at 20 years old once the freaking scene came on. My kids insisted I take them to Deadpool because their friends saw it. Being the nice why not you're only a kid once kind of dad I am. I sat through too many awkward gratuitous frick scenes and made them promise we wouldn't say anything to mom, but they were cool about the whole thing. I remember seeing a bunch of families with small children in the theater when I went to go see Deadpool. I believe all them promptly walked out after hearing the first use of frick. Shazam. For my 11-year-old autistic son who is a big fan of superheroes, everyone kept talk about how heartwarming and family oriented it was. I thought I was in the clear until a woman was incinerated and her flesh melted off and turned to charcoal dust. And then we were introduced to 7 demons which represented the 7 deadly sins. One of the demons bit the head off a man in a boardroom. My son freaked the ever-loving freak out. I am a parent, but this was my mother. She decided to take us to the drive-in to see Flash Gordon. Problem was, we had a softcore P drive-in that varied their programming. It was actually Flash Gordon. My poor suburban mom whipped that Oldsmobile right out of there once the film got rolling. Holy dibbits, this is gold. I checked, but the response was misleading. A South American friend highly recommended this art film. The title was Black God, White Devil. I asked if it was suitable for young children. She said that it was totally suitable, no problem. So I took my wife and kids, aged 5 and 6. Just as they were preparing to hack a baby to death with a machete on screen, I yelled at my wife and kids and we ran out. How did anyone think that was appropriate for young kids, I wondered. Still wondering. My dad took me and my brother to see Wayne's World in the theater. I was 10, my brother was maybe 14. Upon rewatch as an adult I actually understood the jokes. Not really appropriate for a 10-year-old. Emo. My husband totally thought it was fine to let the 5-year-old and 3-year-old watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because it's not that scary. I then had to remind him of the part where the Nazi dude's face melt off. I saw Wayne's World when I was like 8. I thought it was a funny movie about guys who like music. Rewatched it in college and it's still a silly movie about guys who like music. It's just now I understand the jokes. I was left to watch Gremlins as a small child, 7ish, as grandmother saw a cute fluffy creature on the front end. I assume, thought it was a kid's movie, never mind the rating on the front or plot in the back. Blazing Saddles. Anything by Mel Brooks. Spaceballs is also not appropriate for children. Whoops. Well, my friend told me once that his parents didn't know what American Dad was and they let him watch it downstairs while they were upstairs one time. He was about 7 years old at the time. And then about 3 days later his mom told him she was doing the dishes and he said, "Yeah, you do that, B." He didn't know what curse words were until he watched American Dad, and his mom got pissed. My mom knew I liked scary things as a child and loved Halloween. So she rented a scary movie for me to watch. Yeah, my mom rented Aliens for me to watch when I was 6. Not really the best idea on her part. Oh no, I was something about that age when I was at a friend's house, and her dad rented it. I guess she was young enough to be like whatever, but her cousin and I were both so scared we bounced into the other room to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Dad got in trouble when mom got home. Oh no, it wasn't Alien, it was Species. Still, crazy monsters and jump scares though. Sausage Party. That's the worst one possible in this situation. When I was at the theater to see Watchmen several years ago, imagine how surprised I was to see a father bring in his 3 small children ranging in age from 6 to 10. Anyone who has seen that movie knows that it's really dark, has a giant blue fully naked man walking around and features a graphic debauchery scene. I don't know if the guy thought that since it was based on a comic he was in the clear or what. Based on a comic. So many people think that means made for 6-year-olds. So many are wrong. Watchmen, Deadpool, Dark Knight, Dawn of Justice. All of these had 6 and under at screenings I went to. My parents let me watch RoboCop when I was about 6. Funny enough, it wasn't the massive gunfights, or the dude turning into toxic waste when hit by a car, or the blood. But when RoboCop took off his mask thing, that freaked me out horribly and gave me nightmares. I didn't know RoboCop wasn't a family-friendly movie until about 2 years ago. I still haven't seen it, but when I was a toddler my slightly older cousins were obsessed with it. My father let me watch the second Jackass movie when it came out. I was 6. I very distinctly remember the part where Chris Pontius puts his genitals into a mouse puppet and then the puppet into a snake enclosure. Child me thought it was hilarious. My mother, not so much. As someone who didn't see any of the Jackass movies until after I had become a mother, I wasn't allowed to watch them growing up. This is both hilarious and horrifying to me. I heard some things about parents taking their kids to see Sausage Party assuming it was a children's movie. That has got to be one of the worst possible adult movies you could accidentally take your kids to. The fact that it is animated like a children's movie makes the mistake pretty easy to make if you don't do your research beforehand. Crayon Shin-chan. My oldest used to watch it as a 5 or 6-year-old. Never thought anything of it. She picked it out herself at a video store going out of business sale. What a ridiculous cartoon. Funny though, just wildly inappropriate for small children. When I was a kid, we were taken to watch something about Mary. Haha, then quickly left to watch Cats vs Dogs. Not a show, but my mom will always remember the South Park game on N64. She bought it because she thought it was cartoony. I think the ESRB just started the game rating system and no one really knew it yet. She claims she was cooking in the kitchen when she heard a bunch of swears coming from the TV. We were all very young, and she was horrified by it. It was literally just a game where you chuck snowballs at each other, so my mom compromised. Play with the volume off and it's fine. My brother would turn it up though when she wasn't in the room and she knew, so it magically just disappeared. We found out years later she trashed it. TBH, I don't blame her. With South Park games in this day and age being adventures of epic proportions, it's kind of cute that earlier they used to just be about throwing snowballs. When I was 14 my parents and grandparents sat us all down to watch a movie together. They clicked on the first animated movie they saw, Sausage Party. That's gonna be a rip from me, boss. Gremlins. When I was about 6 or 7, I refused to eat anything green after that, particularly pickles. I shut the movie halfway off when I was 22 because it gave me such an uneasy feeling. In elementary school the school secretaries put up name tags on everyone's lockers. The type of thing that you get from a party supply store, like a picture with room to write on it. One year the name tags were cutouts of all the South Park characters. They didn't have any profanity or anything, but it was kind of funny. My mom told me she asked the secretaries if they knew what the characters were and they said no, we just thought they were cute. We were adults but it was still funny. My dad loves histories and so got really into Outlander. I was super surprised because I've read the books and yeah, it's a time traveling drama between World War II and ye olde Scotland with lots of cool battles and historical accuracy, but also it's a romance with lots of frick scenes. But hey, okay, he's into it. You do you, daddo. One day he enthuses that it's the season finale and would we like to watch it with him? Yeah, why not, says my husband. I'm like, oh no, but I haven't seen the show and maybe there isn't as much fricking as I remember. Dad was hoping for exciting battle scenes and wanted to enjoy that with us. But no, it was the wedding episode, which was basically 1 hour of straight up pee. Poor dad awkwardly fast forwarding through the frick scenes until it was over while my husband tried to stay polite and I openly cackled. We haven't spoken of it since. God bless you, dad. My parents rented Borat to watch as a family, knowing zero about what it actually was. Awkward. Not a parent, but they took me to see Sausage Party and didn't check the ratings. Trailer Park Boys. Pretty frickin' greasy. I was the kid, and really I was 15, but my dad snuck me into Wolf of Wall Street. He still talks about being traumatized by seeing it with me. Watching Wolf of Wall Street with your dad after him sneaking you somehow into the theater is going to really sound so cool and funny in the future. Great memory. Not a parent, but when I was 10 years old, me and my older sister watched Snakes on a Plane. It had some explicit scenes in them. We never talked to each other about it again. This has 2 degrees of separation, but my parents bought the book Whistle by James Jones for me when I was 9. I read the whole thing, feeling guilty the whole time, then depressed at the end. I ended up guiltily confessing to my parents that I read the book that they bought me. When I was 12 or so, we went to visit grandma, and in my room under the bedside table was the book The Happy H. Good book. They couldn't figure out why I was spending so much time in the bedroom. Way back when, my Vietnam very father rented Full Metal Jacket and told me sternly I wasn't allowed to watch it. Wondering why, I got up at 3 AM and did. I see why. Kind of. Very father. I can't help but visual all of these parents as Kyle's mom from South Park saying what. I took my then teenage children to see Hangover 2. We had seen the first one and it was funny. Some smut humor, but they had seen worse on cable. I did not expect the full frontal nudity that combined both dongs and breasts at once. I have a son and a daughter and didn't know whose eyes to cover first. They thought it was hilarious. As we were leaving, I told them this was maybe something not to tell people about. To this day it's one of their favorite mom stories to tell. Chang runs around in the nude for a good 5 minutes of that movie. There is a movie called Election with Reese Witherspoon, who plays a ruthless teenager who is determined to win a high school election. It's a dark comedy. My husband and I thought it would be okay to watch this with our 2 preteen daughters. The opening scene shows a male character, Matthew Broderick I think, who is talking to a person off screen, a therapist perhaps, and his first words are, "Hope he was so wet." Off went the TV, and embarrassment all around. You have been visited by the wisdom pupper type. Study well, pupper, or you will fail your next text at school. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.